All right, everybody, Happy New Year again. This is little sister Chris, and I'm here with a fellow surviving sibling, and I will let her introduce herself in just a minute. But I'm so glad to have a guest on here with me because, as you guys know, you hear my voice mostly throughout the podcast. However, I love to have other sibling stories because it's not just me out there who is a surviving sibling. We have so many more stories, so many more people out there that are able and willing to share their story, like my sibling here. So I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience as well as your sibling.
Okay. Well, first, I just want to say that I'm really grateful to be on your podcast. Um, I thought I was going to make it through this podcast without crying while I was practicing, but I'm I'm already feeling choked up. But
Yes.
when I found your podcast, it was just such a relief. I think I was just searching into Spotify and it popped up and I found it about a year ago. But anyway, my name is Ginny. And I have lost two siblings, both my siblings. My older sister Justine and my older brother Brandon. So yeah, so I'm an only child now, which is strange.
Yeah.
Um, and I still consider myself a little sister.
Me too.
Well, I know there's something when you're a little sister or a little sibling, it just kind of sticks with you,
Mhm.
how you're brought up and how
Yeah.
you move through life. And
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah,
And
so
I want to tell you, thank you also for being here again and sharing your two siblings with me. And if we get here, we're crying. I've cried on this podcast before, and I am one of these people that typically would not cry in front of people whatsoever. Like
hmm
I have been known to hold it so much that my body responds to that, and I start having chest pains. But I
yeah.
have cried on this podcast before, and I always thought to edit it, and then I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna edit. This is what it is. It's genuine. It's not like what else is out there. Just know that I cry and we cry, and sometimes we
Yeah.
cry together.
I know. Well, you hold it in so much
Yeah,
that you sometimes it just comes out when you don't expect it. So
definitely does. Definitely does.
yeah.
So, and I can say only had one sibling, and that has left me the only.
Mhm.
And I was a little sister, so I already feel as though we have this in common of being a little sister.
Mhm.
And tell me, how long has it been for both of your siblings? How long have they been gone?
So my sister, she died in 2011. So it's how many years is that now?
Uh,
It's 2023, I guess now.
wow,
So
years.
yeah, June 12th is her memorial.
Okay.
Um, it's crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. It never feels.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes it just feels like a day, and then other times, yeah, it feels like years. And then my brother actually he passed in 97, which is the same. Is that the same as your brother?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I remember hearing you say that, and
Same year.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Wow.
and he died of leukemia
Same.
too. Yeah, so so yeah, um, it's been a while now, but I don't know if I should. Just, I guess I could start with my brother with what happened with him, and
Yes.
um, so when I was born in 92, so I'm 30 now. Um, my brother was diagnosed with leukemia I think just a little bit before I was born. So, um, I was in my mom's stomach when she was dealing with my brother's sickness, and I was born into that world. My brother and my sister were only 2 years apart, so they were like really close. Actually, when you talk about you and your brother's relationship, it reminds me of my sister and brother's relationship that they had together. Um, because they were really, really just best friends. Um, and my brother had leukemia for 5 years, um, and he died when he was 11. And I was almost 5. My sister was 13. Um, and so, yeah, I think sibling loss is a lot different when you're 5 years old. What I've realized. I remember my sister telling me, don't forget our brother, don't forget who he was. And I remember as a 5 year old thinking, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean don't forget? How could I forget? And it's not till now that I'm like, oh, I see. I was just a little kid. Of course, she was like, don't forget about him. And I couldn't really understand why I would forget. But yeah, so they would take him to the Oakland Children's Hospital. And so from when I was born to when he passed when I was 5, we were always at the hospital, or my sister and I would stay at an aunt's house or a friend's house, or um and although I knew my brother was sick, but I didn't realize what a heavy world that was to be born into, in a family that was going through that. And um so yeah, actually his Memorial Day was on the 8th of January.
Just bad.
So it just happened.
Yeah.
And um I was kind of I look for signs from them. I'm a believer of signs. And I was like, I didn't realize his memorial was coming up. It seems like sometimes you can forget that the day's coming up, but you start to feel just like extra emotional, or you're like, what is going on with me? And his totem animal was a mountain lion, because he would draw mountain lions all the time. And actually, when he was passing, he was talking about mountain lions being in the room with him. Um, so I had a couple dreams about mountain lions, and I still didn't realize what the date that was coming up. And I listened to this mountain lion podcast just kind of randomly that someone suggested, and then I looked at the date and I was like, oh my, that's why I've been like thinking about mountain lions. And I was like, all right, well, I've been reading this book about signs, so I'm like, all right, well, I really want a sign today.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you can try to force it. And I was like turning on the radio. I was like, okay, because my song from both of them is Stand By Me,
Oh,
if
yeah.
I hear that song. And for my brother, it's either Stand By Me, or it's the remixed uh, version of I think it was I'll Be Watching You, originally by The Police or Sting or something. And then P. Diddy redid it.
Yes. 7.
And I'll Be Missing You. So I'm like, okay, one of those songs. So I'm like, a couple of days ago on the radio, I never turn on the radio in the house, but I'm like trying to put it on the right station. So I might get one of those songs, like, okay, the oldie station for Stand By Me, or throwbacks, hip hop throwback for.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything, like nothing came up, and I knew I was forcing it. So I kind of forgot about it. And later I went to my husband's dad's birthday party, and I totally forgot about getting a sign, and then all of a sudden his dad just starts singing "Stand by Me," and I've never heard his dad sing before, and he only made it through a couple lines, and then he got distracted, and I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh, thank you.
There it was.
Yeah, there it was. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I love getting signs from them. Um, but so yeah, my brother passed in 97. I remember the last Christmas with him, and he didn't open any of his presents. He was 11, and because he knew he had relapsed, and didn't want to open his presents. Um, and he got airlifted to the Stanford's hospital right around Christmas. And then I remember the night my sister and I stayed back home. Um, we lived in Arcata, which is about 5 hours north of Stanford. So we stayed with my aunt, and my parents drove home the night that he passed. And they told us, we were in their car, in the back seat in the car, and I remember my sister was just crying and crying. Why did he have to die? Why did he have to die? Why? And me being the little sister, I remember copying her and saying that too. Why did he have to die? And then I asked my mom if he had left me anything. And she said, actually, yeah, he did. And she pulled out a teddy bear that he got on the airplane that had airlifted him with, and gave that to me. And yeah, I don't know. It was, I mean, only looking back now, I see that I was raised in this grieving family.
Yes.
And as a kid, you kind of move in and out of it. You're still playing, like, you go out and play as a kid the next day. And I can remember my older cousin saying, "Why are you guys playing when Brendan just died?" And because we were younger, we're like, well, we still want to play. So it's complicated. And I think that, like, now, since my sister passed and I see how my parents responded and I feel the grief in a new way, I realize what I was raised in, and how that, like, grieving has always been a part of my life. And so that was my brother, Brendan. And my sister was, I mean, everyone was devastated, but my sister was like, they were really connected, really, really best friends. And she was like, she was almost a second mom to me. Like, she would protect me and take care of me, and I'd sleep in her bed, and we were really, really close, and became closer and closer, and just were best friends. And um but she was open about her grief. Like, I can remember her bringing out the family videos and watching videos of him, and she would journal all the time and write poetry. And my dad was more reserved. um my parents, they owned a print shop, so they were working all the time, really busy. But my mom was always, receptive to getting signs and dreams and meditating, and talked about, I know a lot of people stop talking about the person, but we never really stopped talking about Brendan. Other people in our life did.
Yes, I do.
Which is kind of the strange thing about when someone passes, and then your friends and family kind of just, I don't blame them, because people feel uncomfortable and don't know what to say. But my sister, she struggled a lot and turned to alcohol, and from a young age. And so she had her demons that she had to um, fight, and got into dysfunctional relationships, and always just the best sister in the world, picking me up from school, letting me hang out with her friends, and just showering me with presents and spoiling me. And I don't know, just a really wonderful big sister. And the 9 years between us and our age gap, it really it didn't feel like that to me, at least. We felt like it didn't feel like she was way older. And then when I became a teenager, she'd take me places, and we'd go to reggae shows and go on trips together, and yeah, yeah, go to festivals. And
Yeah.
yeah, she kind of corrupted me, but in the funnest, best way.
Possible.
Yeah. Took me to my first concert, and yeah, um, and she was really just so funny and goofy and a lot of fun. Um, and but yeah, when I think I was 19, and she was 28. She was drinking and riding a quad, a four-wheeler up in the mountains. And that's when she crashed her quad. And I actually got the phone call. I was on the phone with someone else when I got it, and it was her boyfriend, who I didn't like. And actually, at the time when she passed, she and we weren't as close as we had been, because I think I was angry with her for drinking and dating these guys I didn't like, and because she'd gone to rehab, and it had been a lot of her trying to heal and then relapses. And um yeah, I think I was angry with her. And so we got that call, and he said there'd been an accident, and I gave the phone to my dad, and um she died like pretty instantly. And so she didn't suffer. um and yeah, I remember feeling like I was in shock, but I felt this sense of relief, which I felt guilty about for a long time, but I've heard other people talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just felt relief for her that she wasn't having to suffer like she had been. Cause,
Right.
yeah, because she'd been struggling for a while.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's a long, long story. And I don't know, I probably went out of order, and I could have
Hey, that is
said
all
more
right.
or less.
I wanted you to be able to share because you have two siblings. So to honor
Yeah.
both of them, to honor both of their personalities,
Hmm.
and how both of you all dealt with the grief of losing a sibling very young, and then losing a sibling still adolescent-ish age. Adolescent
Hmm.
reached all the way to 24, 25 years old, and you lost twice in that time frame. Uh,
Hmm.
and then having to speak more into those siblings who are listening, who were younger when they lost their sibling, that
Hmm.
statistically puts us at risk for so many mental health challenges and behavior challenges.
Hmm.
That is not just a rumor. That's not just a thing. It's actually studied and statistically that alcohol, substance abuse,
Hmm.
domestic violence type situations, and suicidality is a huge one, and not just lasting in the childhood, but into adulthood too. So
Hmm.
what you said about your sister and having the struggles, um,
Yeah.
really really ties into that information out there in my other world, which is counseling and psychology and things of that nature, and childhood grief, that
Hmm.
people don't really understand a lot. They understand more now,
Mhm.
but they don't understand that someone like you being 5 years old does not forget at all. It
Yeah.
does not. Your sister did not forget whatsoever.
Mhm.
And some of the results were negative effects, and not being able to grieve in a way that was that that saved her life, basically.
Yeah.
um, it's hard. It's a hard journey.
Well, and especially I feel like at 13, that's such like a that age
Yeah.
is already so fragile.
Yes.
13, 14, like, you're going through all these adjustments and
Yes.
physically and emotionally, and that's just like, I don't know, just such a horrible thing to go through at that age, especially.
Yes. Yes. Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to share both of their personalities and to share
Mhm.
how your sister dealt with the grief, or did.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like right there, kind of floating in between both of their memories, and then combining both of their memories together at one point, and then realizing that you were born into a grief situation because your brother was always sick in your
Yeah.
5 years. He was always sick, so it was
Mhm.
always a touch and go situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then to have your sister die in a traumatic situation, uh,
Mhm.
and to be relieved, like you said, because relief is something that, again, you said you felt some guilt around, and relief
Mhm.
is something that in death people do feel for their loved one. They like finally you get some type of peace, even though for me, I don't like that you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
yeah, that I don't know, that's always stuck out to me, just that I felt that little bit of that sense of relief
yeah, yeah.
amongst the sadness and the anger and the well, I didn't actually feel angry, I guess. I always hear people, well, I remember my dad saying he was angry, and I know people go through anger about it, but I never felt angry. I definitely felt like when I'd see other people with their siblings or
Yes.
on National Sibling Day or
Yes.
I don't
Made that up. I feel like social media made that up.
I know. I said, it's like, where did this come from?
It's on the worst day for me possible. It's on the actual worst day. I'm like, what in the world? Today is April 10th. Like, who picked April 10th? No.
Well, and that's 2 days before my sister's birthday, April 10th. And I'm always just like,
And it's like my brother's death day. So I'm like, what in the world?
oh,
Yes.
no way.
Who picked that? Yeah. So it's a sore spot for me.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is for me.
So
Yeah.
I see we have some commonalities here.
Yeah.
And it's just whenever I talk to a sibling, it is I want to say weird, but I feel like it's no coincidence that I have so many similarities to so many of y'all. When at one
Mhm.
point I felt by myself completely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. You feel isolated.
Yes.
At the same time of feeling completely alone, like you want to, or I felt like I wanted to let everybody know that this had happened, but then the world's just moving on. And you have those couple of weeks where people are bringing by food and you have the memorial, which is kind of a blur.
Yes.
And then it just, oh, life continues.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're expected to just keep going too when
Yeah.
you've just been like run over by,
Yeah.
yeah.
Indeed, indeed. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. I was thinking about because I was a freshman in high school, and I was thinking about my grades and
Mhm.
how I had to take summer school because I failed. And I don't remember how many classes it was because I remember
Mhm.
getting my report card and I remember looking at my report card. And I remember feeling so disappointed in myself that I was making like F's in these classes disappointed in myself. And
Yeah.
and then I put my report card somewhere because I didn't want to show my parents.
Uh-huh.
And I never could find it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. It's weird because I was in somebody's car at the time, and I remember folding it, and I remember putting it down somewhere, and I never saw it again. Never.
Mhm.
So I couldn't. I remember some 40s in there. I remember some S, but I could not.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember having really feeling really bad that I failed my classes.
And conveniently losing it.
Yeah, yeah, lost it, never saw it again. So I
Your
couldn't tell you
brother
what my grades were.
your brother probably had something to do with that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't need this.
yes, and just the pressure, like you said,
Mhm.
to keep going and doing and being a student or being a young person, a teenager, just
Mhm.
trying to do all the things like you did before and can't.
Yeah, and we're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing that I've realized is just like I remember sleeping a lot right afterwards. Like I had some time to sleep because I was dreaming a lot. And then it was like back to the world and I was just so hard on myself for years about not being enough or not living up to what I had imagined for myself.
Mm,
And I I don't know, the thing about it is that I really just think you have to go easy on yourself. Like your whole reality, your future has shifted when you lose a sibling. Like all the plans you had or the idea of yourself, of your identity, of having like I've heard you talk about it, like being an aunt to
mm-hmm.
your brother's children and just this future that you've kind of imagined for yourself. And all that goes away.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. It's just harder to move through life when you have this heaviness with you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think if you have these huge losses, you really have to be gentle with yourself.
You do. You
Let
do.
yourself off the hook for things like grades. And
Yeah.
I kind of went a little wild after my sister passed. I was like I had gotten into art school after high school, but I'd taken a break and come home. And then my sister passed, and I never went back to art school. So I was kind of like going to the local junior college off and on, but I was just not really unhappy. I was really depressed. And my mom's advice to me was, well, if you feel this depressed, you might as well go do something that'll be fun. I wanted to go to Jamaica to my sister had taken me on this trip when I was 17 to Jamaica and I met this guy there.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, I wanted to go to Jamaica and go hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
This is the dysfunction though that can follow after you lose someone because you're just kind of desperately grabbing for things and you're not thinking straight. And so I went to Jamaica. I dropped out of I don't know the two classes I was taking, the two art classes I was really taking, and I went to Jamaica with my friend, and I met this guy there, and that I had met before and been talking to, and it was safe, and he was a good person, and we stayed with he and his mom, and and then went and visited his dad, and um he ended up asking me to marry him. And this is when I was 20 years old.
Wow.
I know. And this is part of my grief story, though,
Yes.
because I feel like you can do, and I'm not going to advise anyone on whether or not you should take these chances after you lose someone. I know they say don't make any serious decisions for
Mm-hmm.
5 years or something after.
Yeah. But at least
I did not
not
follow
6
that.
months. Okay.
I didn't follow that. I said yes to him And I got married when I was 20 years
You
old.
got married to a Jamaican?
And I did it like the correct way. I didn't get married there because we had to go through all this embassy stuff. We had
Yeah.
to do interviews. I was like staying with him for a while, then going home and working, and then making enough money to come back there. And my mom came out to visit us and his family, and then my dad came out to visit everybody.
Wow.
Meanwhile, my parents are like reeling in grief, and here their youngest daughter is dragging them through this
Marriage
this
process.
this marriage, this little side adventure, which I don't regret because I learned a lot. And I mean, the marriage only lasted 8 months, but I think he was 28 and I was 20, and I was just a kid, and he wanted to plan our lives and look at property and this and that. And I was like, I just kind of want to watch TV with my mom.
Yeah.
I'm like in the middle of grieving. I think I'll just do art projects.
I'm not with it.
Yeah. So that happened. And I never like turned to alcohol or drugs in my grief. But I definitely had a lot of relationships where I used them to distract me. And if I could do one thing differently, it would have been putting a lot more time in myself and my life plans and less into relationships, because that just takes a lot of energy. And then we'd break up and I'd go through this heartbreak, and I knew while it was happening, like, this is way too much pain for a breakup. And I knew it was like, I have all this repressed pain about my sister, and before that my brother. So I don't know if I was using the relationships to be able to feel that depth of sorrow or what. I was going to therapy throughout that, on and off, when I really couldn't figure things out. And that was really helpful. But yeah. I think that's what happens when you don't give yourself time to grieve, is it comes out in other ways. You get married when you divorced by 21. Yeah.
Again, I really love Jamaica, by the way. And
I do too.
Love reggae music and love soca, love Caribbean music and everything. And again, similarities. But I didn't get married. But it's just that I really love the island. So, and the people and everything. So
it was a very healing place to go to. Yeah.
Definitely. I totally agree. I took myself in 2019 to Jamaica by myself and had a beautiful time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
I think traveling is a wonderful thing to do.
It really
like
is.
Anytime, but I do think traveling when you're grieving is good. Maybe don't get married, but
right.
Just going somewhere completely different where nobody knows you or your story. It's a relief. And it's like mind expanding, and you grow a lot, and
change of change the scenery.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about the pressures that you put on yourself to do this, that, and I can agree with you on that. I feel like I've been in speed mode for a lot of my life. I've got to get this. I got to please my parents. Because I'm the only kid, they're only kid living, and do all these right decisions, make everything to the point where, only one part of my life seems like it's all good and glossy and things. And it took me a long time to get here. But
Mhm.
it's like I just now, maybe I'm 40 now.
Mhm.
So somewhere around 38, 39, 40
Mhm.
seems to not put as much pressure on myself as I did
Mhm.
the years before.
Yeah.
It's a relief, but I look back and I'm thinking, well, dang, like why was I in a rush or what was that?
Mhm.
And you're grieving and you're trying to, I guess, carry the torch for everybody that's gone.
Mhm. Well, and you feel like, well, I felt like I was running out of time, like that she had passed so suddenly. I was like, oh my, if you can just go like that, I better hurry up. And
Yeah.
like, I think that's why I got married. I was like, I felt like I was the only one left on earth and I needed to get married and start a family. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the direction I went, but people can go in any type of rushed direction, careers or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And yeah, I realized just in the last year, I stopped like beating myself up so much
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally about not achieving all these things or not having it all figured out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and yeah, the pressure of being the only child with your parents, it's just like it's a lot
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
try to fulfill all the different parts that the family used to be,
Yeah.
especially holidays and yeah.
So,
But
and we are just coming out of the holiday season.
mhm.
Holidays are not always the best time for everybody. Although mass media would make you think that everybody is jolly and having a good old time.
Yeah.
But because we've come out at the time of this recording, have come just out of the holiday season, how is it knowing that you've lost two siblings? How is the adjustment? How long was that adjustment?
Well, I'm still adjusting. Um, I think for a long time it was my sister who like kept my mom and dad and I like in the holiday spirit. Like she was always, you know, just wanting to do all the traditional things and get the tree and the decorations and the presents and everything. And my dad, it was just so painful for my dad. And um and so then when she passed, it was like a whole, I mean, we had wonderful Christmases, the four of us, after my brother passed, even though they were really sad. But then when my sister passed, like I just felt like we weren't even a family. And my mom kept saying, "We are a family." Like, and I just was like, what are you I think it really upset me. I was like, what are you talking about? How can this be a family? Just me and you guys, and that's the family? And so we kind of like every Christmas has been just different. Like last year I made sure we had Christmas trees. We were in Mexico. My parents live in Mexico and I kind of rode out the pandemic there. And so it's hard to find a real Christmas tree over there, but I like insisted. And it was still kind of, very melancholy Christmas.
Yeah.
And um yeah, and this year I wasn't with my parents. I'm living in Sacramento now with my husband, and he has a daughter, an older daughter, and so she was here, and his family's like very traditional with Christmas. And so we strung popcorn and cranberries and decorated the tree and did all the Christmas things, but I still had to have a breakdown. Like I thought I was going to be okay. And then I woke up, I just kept waking up like the day before and then the day of Christmas, waking up really grouchy. And I'm like, all right. Usually when I'm feeling angry, it's because I'm not. I'm not dealing with my sadness. And so I just had to give myself that time to realize that and realize that it was hard to be away from my parents, even though our Christmases are always a little shaky and unpredictable. And it was like kind of missing my Christmas with my parents, even if they are sad. Like I was just kind of missing where how casual they were, and the pressure of having like a real Christmas. I don't know. It was strange. So I don't know. To answer your question, the holidays are hard no matter what.
Yeah.
And it reminds me my birthday, my 30th birthday. My birthday's in March. That was like I was a mess on my birthday. I cried all day long. My sister used to just shower me with presents and spoil me, and I don't know, I guess maybe I've become like no birthday is ever as good as when she was there. And then I was turning 30, so that was like a milestone. And she wasn't there for that. And yeah, I was so sad and crying and upset. And a few days after my birthday, though, I had a dream. And in my dream, we were at our old house that we grew up in. My parents sold that house, which is another thing that happens. Yeah. And it's a part of the grieving process. But in the dream, we were at our family house, and she wasn't, I didn't see her, but she left me a present. And it was like this very ornate pin cushion. And there was a note, and it said, "More gifts are on the way." And right around that time, the man that's my husband now, he called me. We were friends for a few years, but he called me while I was in Mexico and wanted to know if I wanted to come out to visit. And I came out to visit. Lots has happened in the last 8 or 9 or maybe 10 months now. But anyway, I came out to visit him, and we fell in love, and I'm pregnant now.
Yay! I was about to ask you about that, but I didn't want to ask.
I'm 7 months or almost 8 months pregnant.
Yeah. And more gifts are coming.
Yeah, more gifts are coming. Yeah, exactly. And as soon as I got here, he and I felt so comfortable, and just like, I don't know, we just knew that we'd been missing from each other's lives. It was just like so easy and comfortable. And I was like, yep, I guess these are the gifts that are coming. She like had huge gifts in store for my 30th year.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Got married and had a baby.
Yeah. It's been a big adjustment though. Like I'm really comfortable at this point and so excited, but it was like the first 3 months, I felt like I was grieving all over again.
Wow.
And I was like, what is happening to me? Like, it was, and I've read that, like, I don't know, pregnancy, it brings up a lot, but it was like just a lot to do with my sister, and then and my brother, and then I had to like go through all my past relationships that were kind of, not fully worked out, just all these emotions. Yeah. And a lot of letting go. Yeah. So, yeah. It was intense. It was really intense.
That's a lot of work. Now, what day is your birthday?
March 30th.
Okay. So you're right there. All of my family is in March. So my brother was March the 18th. And my dad is March 16th. My mom is March 27th. So
wow.
We're all in there together. And I'm
Are they all Aries?
Pisces and Aries. Mom's and Aries.
Okay, Pisces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mom is
Well,
definitely.
I'm having a boy, and he's gonna be a Pisces. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
My dad and his twin, and then my
Uh-huh.
good, very
Oh,
good men. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, congratulations. It's just exciting, and I'm glad that you're a dreamer as well. I'm a dreamer as well.
Hmm.
And dreams really do, like you say, signs. Dreams really.
Hmm.
Um, sometimes I'm worn out from my dreams because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I know it's another reality that you go to and live this whole other life in the dream world.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I
What?
know.
I'm thinking, Lord, I've been asleep all night, but I have not been asleep, Ashley. I'm
I know.
tired.
I think
I've,
that's why I'm so tired all the time.
yes, I've actually been living and doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
yes. So when you said dreams, I was like, I'm a dreamer. And my
Hmm.
brother came to me on my 40th birthday and
Uh-huh.
annoyed the mess out of me in my sleep and was trying to wake me up in my dream. I was asleep, and then he tried to wake me up, and he was, kind of shaking my pillow. So
Yeah.
I woke up, still in my dream. Woke up
Uh-huh.
and I looked at him, and I was so annoyed that he woke me up. And then he starts smiling, and then he
Hmm.
took my hand and he kissed my hand, and then I
Oh,
woke up, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
what
you
a gift.
never came to me for my birthday. I don't ever remember this at all. I was like, 40 is going to be a big year. And
Yeah.
boom, my mom had this whole surprise birthday party a couple of days later.
Oh,
And
I think I remember listening
oh
to
my
your,
gosh.
yeah,
Oh my
about
gosh.
that. That sounded so fun.
Amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I believe in the dreams. I believe in the signs. Um, some people don't, but we do believe in that, and that keeps us in contact with our loved ones. So
Yeah.
I'm blessed. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible when you have a visitation dream, because sometimes I feel like I have dreams where it's like my subconscious is really just trying to work out
Mhm.
things. And then other times I've had dreams where I have been visited by my siblings, and I wake up and I feel them. And
Yeah.
it just sticks with you for
Yep.
like days afterwards.
Yep.
And yeah, those are amazing dreams.
Those are great. Those are great. I love
Yeah.
it. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you are in this season of your life, and
Yeah.
it's a huge transition. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that as we continue, both of us continue to grow and continue
Hmm.
to grieve, grieve differently,
Hmm.
because in our transitions we do grieve a little bit differently. Like you say, your first 3 months was like, oh, really
Yeah.
grieving, really trying to let
Yeah.
go and embrace, and then let go and then embrace some things, and then be
Hmm.
grateful for some things, and then your body's changing at the same time. So
Hmm.
tell me and other siblings who have lost not one but two, um,
Hmm.
what helped you? What helped you throughout these years, or what is helping?
Um, well, for me, I feel very fortunate that I'm an artist, so I have that outlet. I think it's so, like, I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't express my sorrow with painting and honor it, and just be in that other space where when you're really in flow in creating something, a part of your mind can turn off, and I can get to a place where I feel very connected
Mhm.
to my siblings, to the universe, to whatever it is that someone believes in, and just like supported. And sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's not a flow or a peaceful state. Sometimes it's agony, and I'm like, why am I creating this art? I don't even like doing this.
Yeah.
But no matter what, like that's the thing that I always can just like, I don't know, collapse into and feel relieved. And I journal too. I keep a journal and um, write down my dreams and therapy. So art therapy, journaling, um, exercise. That's like a generic thing for everybody, but that, yeah, you have to keep trying to move your body. I think it gets the grief out to comes to the surface. And
Hmm.
I'm also a believer in like if you don't express the grief, it turns into different ailments on your body. And
Yes, indeed.
yeah,
Yeah.
so but mostly for me it's been art. um I did get really involved in working with horses for a couple years, and it was right after my sister passed, and I had been asking the universe for something bigger than myself. Like I really felt like I needed to take care of something bigger. I didn't realize physically bigger, like a horse.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like an art project or something, but I got really into horses. And at that time, I remember after my sister passed, I felt so scared of everything, like afraid to move. And when I had to face these horses, um, you have to remain calm because they're huge animals. They're not like predatory animals, but they can step on you or whatever. So yeah, that really helped me with my fears, like not just getting into the fetal position. It was really symbolic for my life. It was like, no, you have to stand up, you have to breathe. So I kind of, yeah, my life kind of took me on these little journeys that were good for expressing grief, but I always go back to art. I finished my tarot cards, 78 cards, and it's called the Little Sister Tarot. And I didn't realize that, I mean, I remember that you go by Little Sis Chris, but
Yeah.
I didn't think about that when I did my tarot cards. It must have just stuck with me. So
Yeah.
they're called Little Sister Tarot.
Oh,
I haven't printed them yet, but it's in the works.
okay.
And yeah.
I have to come to you for a reading.
Well, I don't know how to do readings really.
Okay.
I'm learning as I go.
Okay.
So I'm not a tarot card reader yet.
Okay.
And I don't know if I will be, but I like the meanings of the cards, and I've always had a deck around me, like to just draw one card for the day or whatever.
Okay.
Um, but so yeah, I'm putting my grief into that right now. Little Sister Tarot.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Yes. 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 Little sister.
But
Well,
yeah, I think it's really important to have an outlet. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, to follow that.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be art.
And it ebbs and flows throughout your life and throughout your journey. Like you
Yeah.
said, at one point you took care of horses and learned how to present yourself to horses and to actually present yourself as though you're not scared, although you were scared of
Yeah.
probably a few times. But
Yeah.
having to go within yourself for being able to take care of them, and
Mhm.
respect them and how large they are.
Mhm.
But it does, it ebbs and flows a lot. And like you said, art, the tarot deck, for me has, at one point in my life I wrote poetry and did
Mhm.
live open mic nights at points in my
Mhm.
life. I still journal. I've journaled for a long time. But yeah, I think those things have helped. I've been going to therapy for the past year and a half. So that has been
Mhm.
really well.
Mhm.
Just kind of wish I went to therapy earlier in my life, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To help through those moments, those lonely moments, it helps to be able to cry. Know that it's okay to cry. Know that it's okay to feel whatever feelings you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to people. Take care of yourself. Exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and just take that time. Travel, like you said earlier. Traveling has helped me so much. Being around water completely
Yeah.
relaxed
What?
me. Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
agree with that.
But every time I leave water, I have an attitude.
I
I have
know
a good attitude.
I'm from a town on the beach, and the past, or on the ocean, in the past like 4 years I haven't been living by the ocean, and I really miss it.
Mhm.
I try to go to the river a lot, but
Yes,
I like the expansiveness of the ocean. And
yes. It
yeah.
truly captures my attention, and I'm relaxed when I hear it, when I see it, when I
Hmm.
feel the winds, all of the above. It can be a creek, it can be an ocean.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter, just as
Hmm.
long as I'm near. And when I have to leave it, I have an attitude for I want to say a few days. Like be alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
get it.
Yeah, I'm self-aware about that. I have noticed that about myself the past few years. I didn't notice at first, but now I do.
Hmm. Well, and that's a good thing to note it. Like, take note of how you're feeling. I think that's a major, it took me a long time to realize that, but like, just by acknowledging that you are feeling sad, or you're feeling whatever it is you're feeling, um, knowing that it probably has to do with the grief, well, at least for me,
Mhm.
like realizing, okay, I'm feeling lonely and I'm not I'm not by myself, but I'm feeling lonely, and it's like, oh, I'm missing my siblings.
Yeah,
Like, I'm missing my, and I think I'll always have that loneliness. And
yeah,
it sounds depressing to to say that I'm always going to be lonely to a certain extent, but it's true.
it's true.
And letting go of thinking that I'm going to get back to the person I was
Yeah,
before she passed,
yeah,
because that will never happen.
yeah,
And so just realizing that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm working with now.
yeah,
I'm like, I remember at the beginning, it felt like I'd lost a limb,
yeah,
and like, and it still can feel like that. Like, you're not the person that you were before. You're not, or I don't feel whole anymore. And I do believe that I'll see my siblings again when I cross over. Like,
yeah.
I fully believe that.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't, I can't say I have everything, like the whole universe figured out, but I do feel like I'm going to see them again. And I do feel like I can talk to them when I need to talk to them, or ask them for help, or
Yeah,
whatever it is. But
yeah,
yeah, just accepting that I'm not going to be the same person that I was, and realizing that there's not a rush to work through, or everyone's always saying like, oh, or asking, over your how did you get over this? And it's like, well, I haven't gotten over anything.
yeah,
Because some days it feels like it just happened, and then some days, like, you're doing all right.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
not a linear process
It
at
can be
all.
messy. In every life transition, it hits you in a different way. You might
Yeah.
not notice it immediately, but
Hmm.
you will eventually notice it. Siblings who are listening out there, when you have graduated from school, or when you have gotten married, or when you turn 30 or turn 40, um,
Hmm.
or when you get divorced, or your parents get divorced, or having to take care of your parents when they get older. All those are big transitions that happen to us, and they're going to cause some grieving in there as well, even
Hmm.
though some things might be happy transitions, and then other things
Hmm.
might not be as happy, but all of that's going to rear up when we're going
Hmm.
through those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime that had an idea that you were going to be there with your sibling, and then you have to face the reality that they're not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, preschool come out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I am not going to keep you all night long. I feel like I can talk to you all night. So,
I
for all of
know.
you who are listening, I'm on Central Time in Tennessee, and she's in California on Pacific. So she's about 2 hours behind me. And
Mhm.
so we have actually been working on seeing each other and meeting each other on Zoom for about almost a year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it would happen eventually.
Yeah, almost a year. And I went
Yeah.
back through my emails because Jenny reached out to me and I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And then I think she found me on Facebook first and
Uh-huh.
and then reached out. And I was so glad that you reached out. And somehow last year I took a big break somewhere in the
Mhm.
middle somewhere. And but I'm glad that we were able to meet up on Zoom in 2023.
Me too. Yeah, I think I chickened out. I reached out to you and I was all ready, and then I was like, maybe I'm not brave
Yeah,
enough right now for this.
yes,
But your podcast kept me company while I was painting.
oh,
Like for day, I just like went on a whole binge of your
oh,
podcast.
oh my
So
God.
I had to reach out.
Yes, yes. Thank you
Yeah.
for telling me that. Thank you
Hmm.
for telling me that because sometimes
Yeah.
it's just me and I'm talking and I have something on my mind to say and I don't know who reaches out or I see some numbers, but I, don't focus on it and
Uh-huh.
and it's good to hear that feedback.
Yeah, it was a great relief to find your podcast, and
Thank you.
even now I'm like, "Oh, she has a new one out."
Yay!
Yeah, it makes me really happy.
Yes, 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 yes. So
Mhm.
my bet is that I'll be going ahead and uploading a little bit more often in 2023, more than I did in 2022. Um,
Mhm.
but I think there's times where it's like what you don't want to say just anything and I
Yeah.
want to make sure that what I say is beneficial to all the
Mhm.
siblings out there that are listening or that will find the podcast. So I always want to come from that lens, not
Yeah.
to just be talking like all these, a lot of times when you're on podcasts or YouTube or something, people just talking
Yeah.
about anything. But yeah, just to be intentional.
Yeah. No, I think that's a better way to go about it than just trying to get your meet a quota or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not. So I again, it's been a year of us, and I believe that timing is everything,
Hmm.
and that we were meant to meet on this day in 2023.
Hmm.
To be able to see your smiling face and to hear some similarities, and to also congratulate you on the upcoming baby boy.
Thank you so
It's
much.
amazing. It is amazing. And marriage. And that is amazing.
Hmm. I wanted to ask you. I forgot your brother's name.
We called him GP. Um,
GP. Okay.
GP, and he was named after my dad. So George Pennick,
Uh-huh.
my dad. And
Okay.
so we call him GP for short.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to remember that before I started talking to you, but I
Yeah,
just wanted to know. GP.
GP. Yes. So and my family is very funny. So my dad is George, my brother was George, and my mom is
Mhm.
Georgetta. I'm Crystal.
Man, you got left out.
Yes, I did. I did. August birthday just brought out some newness in my mom. And
Yeah.
she, was like, okay, I'll just name her something different. And she was good about naming me something different. But yeah, yeah. So funny tidbit for all of y'all
Yeah.
who are listening.
I know we could keep going, but
Yes,
I won't.
I know. I know. But I appreciate you. I'm gonna wrap this up for everybody. If you would like to hit me up on Facebook, I am there on Facebook at LPC Chris, and I'm also have a Facebook group with I think Jenny is still on there at the Facebook group. It's called our Sibling Lost, the podcast. That's what it's called on Facebook. You can also hit me up on my email address, which is also in the studio or the liner notes. Liner notes. I'm so old school. But it is all there for you if you want to get in contact. Thank you so much, Jenny, and have a great night.
Thanks.